Dr. Paul here, and we're going to be weighing in after 1 month on the micronutrient whole food diet. What I want to stress though is that the micronutrient whole food diet is not about weight loss. It's about being healthy. It's about getting all your nutrients, and in so doing, your body will experience a kind of rejuvenation and health experience that you may never have had before in your life. So if you happen to need weight loss, which I did and do, you will find that it will start to come off quite naturally using this way of eating. I don't like the word diet because it implies you're trying to lose weight, but in the medical field, diet is just how you eat, what you eat. So we're going to see what we're doing. I started off at 209 and it's now the 4th week weigh-in, so my 1 month weigh-in. And the focus this month has strictly been eating fruits, vegetables, lean meat, nuts and seeds, and basically staying away from most grains. Certainly it's a gluten-free diet. It's been largely a dairy-free diet. That's not an absolute for me. Some people who have the need to be dairy-free or gluten-free, it must be absolute. The grains I have allowed myself to eat in very moderation is gluten-free steel-cut oats for breakfast sometimes, brown rice, occasionally white rice, sweet potatoes, very rarely white potatoes, and quinoa. And that's it pretty much for the grains and starches, and the rest of it's as many greens as you can possibly eat, unlimited fruits and vegetables basically. And it's interesting, what I experienced towards the end of the month was my weight loss was slowing down, and that's basically because I love fruit. And so I think I was eating so much fruit and so many carbs that it kept me away from losing as much weight as I possibly could have. But anyway, there you have it. The other thing you're supposed to do is drink a lot of water, and I wasn't as good as that as I should have been. Exercise 4, 5, 6 times a week. Almost got that in this past month. Let's see where we're at. Oh, this is good. I just broke the 200-pound barrier. Woo! That feels good. Down a little more than 9 pounds in 4 weeks. That's not typical. I have to tell you, I was working at it. And, if you weren't working at it, maybe I would have dropped 4 or 5 pounds. But still, I think if you have weight to lose, you're going to drop at least 1 pound a week just eating healthy, not even worrying about calories. And that's one of the really wonderful things about this micronutrient whole food diet. That's a tongue twister. Micronutrient whole food diet. The principle is, and when you read the book, you'll get a better understanding of why micronutrients are so important. But the other key principle is you get your food non-processed from whole foods. So my son Noah has been doing this diet with me, and he's, well, you'll see. We're going to chat about this. He's a strong fellow, works out like crazy, and so he had an incredible initial weight loss experience, I think because of his immense amount of working out. And anyway, we'll see what he has to say about how this went for him.
What's going on, guys? My name is Noah. I am the producer and the editor for this channel. Like my dad said, I've been doing this diet, this change of lifestyle with him. What are we gonna shoot from the hip a little bit right now?
Absolutely. So son, you've been doing the micronutrient whole food diet for the past month.
Yep.
How did this way of living, this way of eating work for you?
It's already working tremendously in terms of my weight change. That happened instantly, and as you know, I've lost 13 pounds with this new way of eating in the same amount of time that you lost the 10, so we're basically on the same track there. It was a no-brainer. If I cut out the processed foods like you said, and I started adding in a lot more phytonutrients, micronutrients, and the clean carbohydrates, brown rice, blah, 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 weight would just naturally come off as a side effect, let's say. And so that went well. As you know, I am doing this diet and making this change for mental health reasons. I'm someone that struggled with depression, with anxiety, and we both agreed that the way I was eating, which was highly processed, very empty calories, lots of sugar, lots of saturated fats, it wasn't conducive for mental health. And I will say that when I first started this diet, the first week, I'd say that things felt worse, actually. I felt more fatigued and a little bit cloudier and foggier in terms of mental clarity. My sleep was interrupted the moment I got off processed foods, and that surprised me. I didn't realize it would be so blatant, but a day or two after cutting them out,
Yeah.
I couldn't sleep. And I just want to quickly say, and then you can prod me however you want. Prod? You can prod me however you want. The second week it got better. And
Okay.
since then the sleep's been a bit better. I can say that my mental health has shown signs of improvement, but it's going to take time, I think.
Yeah. Well, what Noah has experienced, I've witnessed this in many, many patients who abruptly go absolutely, completely gluten-free. You see, if you have a gluten sensitivity and then you cut that out, it's such a drastic shift that you actually go through withdrawal.
Yeah, like a drug.
It's like a drug.
It's crazy.
And we know that gluten has a morphine-like substance called gluteomorph that has a slight effect on the opiate receptors. And so, you know, when you cut that off, there's a withdrawal phenomenon, and I imagine that's what you were experiencing.
It is definitely what I think I experienced, and it caught me off guard, and it actually upset me.
I'm sure it did. I probably should have warned you.
Well, I mean, maybe, but no, it's okay. It's something I needed to do anyway, and I don't want to act like it's been a perfect month. This is the healthiest month I've had ever, I think, in my whole life. I can't think of a time where I was more focused, but as you've helped me understand more about gluten-free, dairy-free, the gut to brain connection in terms
Right.
of how it can affect you cognitively, emotionally, things like that, as per your cases of kids with autism, and then just people with mental health, just better understanding it. I think for the next chapter, even though this first month was incredible at developing habits, I think I'm going to have to take that part a little more strictly, because naturally you're going to have cheat days, or you want to take it easy a little bit, but I'm learning there can't really be any cheat days. If you want to find out what the effect of gluten, for example, will have for you long term.
Right. Well, you bring up an excellent point that I want to address, and that's cheat days. If you suffer from a real gluten sensitivity, if you have a mental health issue, anxiety, depression, depersonalization, if you have autism spectrum, ADD, ADHD, bipolar, anything to do with mental health, and you happen to have a gluten sensitivity, which we can test for, you can't cheat with gluten. That has to be absolute. And I'll tell you an example of why I know this to be true. I've had two cases, but one that was so vivid. A 4-year-old child who had never spoken, never made eye contact, severely autistic, finally goes gluten-free, comes back and says full sentences with eye contact, "Hi, Dr. Thomas, my Thomas Choo-Choo." I mean, I got goosebumps. Same child, later on, gets into some cookies, loses speech for over a month. Well, I'm sorry. He lost speech for over a week. He didn't get back to where he was in over a month from one cheat. Some cookies at a Thanksgiving, I believe it was. Now, I may have mixed up a couple stories of different patients that I've had, but that was the gist of what happened for two children. And I've seen it over and over again where there's real distress when you remove something that's toxic to your system and then reintroduce it, which actually is not a horrible thing to do. It's called a challenge.
Sure.
So it's an elimination diet. You eliminate something that you're worried about, and then you re-challenge yourself. And that is the way you find out for sure that probably wasn't a good idea.
Yeah, absolutely. And I experienced that to a small degree, and I imagine I don't want to go full out gluten-free for 2 months and blow it. I'm not interested. But having cut out gluten for I think like 10 days, and then I slipped and I had one meal with gluten, and the next 2 or 3 days, the brain fog, the just irritability, it was all worse. I mean, just like night and day worse. My face got puffy. I had red blotches above my eyes, very reminiscent to what someone who's been binge drinking might expect if they have bursted capillaries. It was really intense and kind of overwhelming, actually.
Folks, this is a very powerful live example of what not to do when you have a true gluten sensitivity, but I don't think you realize the extent to which you were sensitive. So this was actually a learning experience.
Yeah, the first month, definitely a learning experience, sort of like reaffirming what I've suspected. It's got me more interested in adhering to my why. I mean, I think that's the most important thing for anyone who's going to try a new diet, a new lifestyle, something extreme in terms of what you've been doing. if your why is in question, if it doesn't mean something to you that can overcome temptation and or insecurities or a little bit of pain, to be honest, in terms of what certain parts of this diet has already created, then it won't work. And my why is to feel mentally stable and to make videos for this channel forever.
So folks, I want to address your why. This is the topic of anybody who wants to make a major life change in your life. You've got to have it clear cut. Because let me tell you, when you're used to eating bread, oh, I love bread. When you're used to eating pasta, I love pasta. When you're used to eating sweets and you have to cut these things out, it's not going to be easy. You've got to have a strong, strong reason. Do you love life? All right, do you love your children? Can you do this for your children? I'm talking to parents now. Is there somebody you care about even more than yourself, perhaps? Could that be your why? Or do you just want to look better? Maybe, I got tired of carrying around an extra 20, 30 pounds.
I was knocking on 250 pounds door, and I was 247.8, and so my joints were feeling it. It wasn't gonna work.
In medicine, so I'm an MD doctor, and we're taught to heal and treat. The best medicine is your food, and that's why I've written this book. It's just so important that we get our diet right, and I hope you'll be motivated for something, for some reason. Drill down on your why and then jump into this with both feet and watch miracles happen in your health and that of your family.
So what are the biggest changes? Last thing, and this will be a longer video, and that's okay. We're glad if you're still with us. To kind of wrap it up, I know what my changes are. I've already said this next phase, month 2, I want the gluten and dairy thing to be a no excuses, no cutting corners thing. I want to know what benefits lay ahead. What are your biggest changes that you've learned from month 1? Because I know it hasn't been perfect, but it's been better than any month you've had in a long, long time.
Yeah.
What are the tweaks you plan on making, you think you need to make for your personal journey?
So for me, and there'll be a chapter in this book that is for people who really want to dial in on the weight loss. And I know for myself, if I can drop another 15, 20 pounds, my level of wellness and health and feeling better will skyrocket. So what happens if you've ever tried to lose weight is you'll plateau. You initially, if you're doing things right, can drop some weight just like you and I did.
Right.
And it almost comes easy. But then your body sort of plateaus for a lot of people, and it seems like you can't break through. So this chapter on weight loss is going to explain what you need to do to break through if that's what you need to do. Weight loss is not for everyone. Like I said, this is a diet, a way of living, a way of eating that's just for health. It'll be low inflammation, high nutrient, and healing for almost any chronic condition that you may have. But for those of us who need to lose weight, I'll just tell you the key, and you've experienced this in other diet plans that you've tried. It's low carb. Now, remember, you're going to always eat whole food carbohydrates, but you've got to also limit the total amount of carbohydrates. So I was telling you I was just pigging out on fruit. I literally was having 6 to 10 or 12 servings of fruit a day. I'm not going to continue to lose weight if I keep doing that unless I'm just exercising like crazy. So for me, that's the little tweak I've got to do, is cut way down on the fruit, maybe 1 serving a day, if that. That's my treat. And the rest of the time I'm eating whole foods, lots of greens, colorful foods, and being very mindful of the grams of carbohydrate. Now, if you really want to push it to the limit, you limit your extra carbs. Don't count the greens and the veggies, but your extra carbs to 30 grams per day. And I was chatting with you, Noah, and you're going, that's impossible. I work out too much, and I think you're probably right.
For right now.
Right.
For right now. My primary goal is to feel good. I want the weight loss just to be reasonable. And I do train 5 to 6 days a week, and I go really, really hard. So I told him I'm just going to cut carbs about in half, because I wasn't measuring anything. The first month for me was developing good habits. I needed to start getting used to the lifestyle, the trend, forming those let's just say those tendencies. But this next round, I want to just cut carbs probably in half and maybe save them. Still clean, good, complex carbs, but save them just pre-workout and a little for breakfast and make that about it. Of course, I was snacking on carbs, you could say, all day long this first month.
As I was. So remember, if you're going to embark on this journey with us, drink lots of water, don't forget to get your rest, and if in any way you suffer from a major medical condition, let's say you're diabetic or you've got heart disease or some kind of major condition, this diet will help you, but please check with your healthcare provider because it may not be appropriate to jump in as intensely as we've done, for example, this first month. But I'm quite certain whatever you may be suffering from, you'll get huge benefit from this diet. If you happen to be on medication that's lowering blood sugar for a diabetic, for example, be very in touch with your physician. You may be needing to lower that medication because eating this way just naturally helps blood sugars.
All right, I think that'll do it. Dr. Paul, we are going to be checking in once a month, so we'll see you in another month. We hope the journey has gone that much further. Leave comments below if you happen to have an opinion on this and or a suggestion for frequency or other things you want to hear about it. Let us know. We will listen to you, and thank you for your time.
Thanks, Noah.
Yeah, of course, Dad.
Dr. Paul, thanks for watching.